What is going on, everybody? It's another day to talk some crypto. Yeah, 2 live shows in a row. That's mostly because of the holiday on Monday. But crypto markets are pumping here a little bit today. You might be asking why. Well, some of that has to do with continual altcoin rotation. Not that we're going to talk a whole lot about it because it's still in its early stages, but these are the types of things we're seeing during altcoin season beginnings. We're watching people still taking profits from Bitcoin and moving it into the altcoin space. Not just retailers like you and me, but some large whales are doing the same. This makes me extremely optimistic as we're getting into a 2-week stretch that is going to be massive. We already have gotten some pretty good news on the economic front here more recently. We'll cover that data, but we're also going to look forward to what happens over the next 2 weeks when we get to the FOMC, and we will decide if we have rate cuts or do we not have rate cuts. Now, tomorrow, there will be a video fully explaining, dedicated to both bearish and bullish potentials for what September could look like. I'm going to lay out the case. If we have a bearish September, it's going to look like this. The data is going to say this. It's going to happen with this price action. But if we have a bullish September, these are the numbers that are happening, and we will have a bullish September. Look forward to that coming out tomorrow. Today, though, we'll still talk about some of that data and discuss, is the bottom in? Are we watching the beginning of the next major rally, or is there still a lot of confusion to play out? So don't go anywhere. Stick around, ask some questions, smash the like button, hit subscribe. A lot of things you can do while we're live here today to help out the channel. But before we get into the content, I got to introduce my team. Smay is in the background pushing some buttons once again, but he is still sick. Got himself a little bit of the COVID, and got it from his dad. So not all things from parents are great. But he's here in spirit. 700 likes. Maybe he shows his face. How are we doing, though, Shrum? You're here with me. You're looking good. You're wearing that HODL hat. Some great advice. How's your day going, my friend?
It really is better than I deserve, Tim. Doing great. And, we've got some interesting headlines today. I'm excited to talk
Yeah.
about some of these headlines. Of course, a lot of them, in one way or another lead back. All roads lead back to September 17th, that big Fed decision. But some of these things are really exciting. And there's an indicator that has reached an all-time high. I don't think I've ever seen it this high for any month. So I'm excited to talk about that too.
That's true. It's not so much an indicator as it's a prediction tool, but it's interesting for sure. Got a lot to get through here today. Let's take a look over at the bubbles really quickly. Just how is the markets performing overall? It's a sea of green. Couple of reds out there like World Liberty Finance, but of course just launched the other day. Not a big surprise. Sky was a big gainer the other day. It's behind my face. It's okay. You don't have to show them, but there it is. I'm dragging it over. Sky is slightly down. Polygon is slightly down, which is actually interesting. I'm surprised Polygon is down because I don't even think we're going to talk too much about it. But oh no, we are going to talk about it later. Okay, I'm going to save that. There's a Polygon headline that has to do with poly markets that you would have thought Polygon would benefit from, but it's okay. Not the end of the world. Overall, a big sea of green led by M. What is M? Meme Core.
Wah, wah.
Not what makes me happy. Crow is up, though. OKB is still up. So we got some exchange tokens doing well. Form, Pump, ENA continues a nice little rally here. I don't think... Is ENA going to win its bet? We're going to talk at the end of the show about the moon madness. We do have people voting. Those polls aren't over. We did just release some new ones today. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. I think ENA's beating Litecoin, but I have to go back and take a look. I think ENA's in the lead on there. AVAX doing quite well. IP doing well. Overall, just a sea of green. You love to see it. The question, though, on everyone's brain is the bottom in. Over in the VIP trading group, we're talking about this with some of the guys. I'm going to be going live tonight at 7 p.m. Normally, it's Monday, Thursdays. Didn't go live during the holiday. Brody had a soccer game last night, so I didn't make up for it on Tuesday. But 7 p.m. tonight, if you're in the VIP trading group, obviously, Rufio's been killing it at the 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. slots, but I will be live tonight, give a lot more of my thoughts in more in-depth technical analysis over there, so come check it out. But we're talking about in the group, is this the bottom? I told you guys yesterday, I don't get a lot of things perfect. Perfect's not a great word for me. Sometimes, though, I do. And I caught this. If this is the bottom, I did get a buy-in order at that perfect spot. We did confirm what we talked about on yesterday's show. Some of you guys, if you were here, we talked about the Lux Algo indicators, which, by the way, got to give a shout out to Lux Algo. TA is always going to be brought to you guys by Lux Algo, the number one indicator out there. Is it perfect? No. Few things in life are perfect, but is it amazing and very good and very helpful at making money in the world of trading? Absolutely it is. And my favorite way to use it is looking at its oscillator. This is the Lux Algo oscillator matrix. And when I get a green reversal, a bullish momentum, and positive money flow, I love to buy. I love to enter buys. And my expectation for that breakout, if we are above the smart trail, like in this case we are, I like to take a look at order blocks. And if we can wrestle through this one, the order block I'm keeping an eye on is all the way back up above 120,000. Now, if you want to learn how I trade this, right, if I'm actually entering a long position right now, how do I make sure I'm using proper risk management with proper stop loss placement, but also making sure I end this in profit? I teach all that over in the VIP trading group. Will not teach that here today, but just so you guys know, if I did have that trade open, it would look something in the very basics, something along this line, but I have some tricks up my sleeve as far as where do I put my stop loss, where do I put my take profits, how many take profits do I have? I teach all that in the VIP trading group. Go check that out. The question is, will we reject right here on this breaker block and come down lower, or was this the final straw? You know, something I'm going to tell you is I'm leaning bullish right now. And we're going to talk later in the show about some stories that keep me leaning bullish. I hit my number one bottom target, right? So I've been telling you for a while, there's a possibility of Bitcoin dropping down lower, but I thought that 107.2 was a very interesting spot to buy some Bitcoin just to make sure you don't miss out on the dip. The next spot would be way down here. Why? Because even though that daily chart is now giving us a buy signal, we still, until I see a green dot come in on the weekly chart, and honestly, we wouldn't get that green dot until Bitcoin's probably back up closer towards 120,000 anyway. So you're going to be a delayed factor here. That red reversal right there, that gray dot paired with that red line, which is a bearish divergence and negative money flow, means that currently, even with this rally, we're still under a weekly sell signal. Now, I told you this isn't perfect. This isn't 100%. There's lots of times, if I go back throughout the history of Bitcoin, that you receive a sell signal or a buy signal and it doesn't end up hitting the target that we're looking at. But more often than not, it does hit, right? So for this reason, I have to continue to monitor the possibility. I'm not going to say high probability. I'm not going to say I'm guaranteeing it. I'm not going to say it's a sure done deal. But there is a possibility based on a weekly sell signal that sub $100,000 levels gets hit somewhere between $97,000 to $91,000. Why is that? Because the same thing happened back here in January when we got a weekly sell signal, red reversal, bearish momentum, negative money flow, and we came down and we touched the smart trail. Same thing happened back here in March and April of 2024 when, once again, red reversal, bearish momentum, negative money flow, and it took a while, but we ended up coming down and touching that smart trail. You can see through this whole cycle, this has been something to monitor. But like I said, there are times in the past where you don't necessarily get this to happen. For example, back in 2020 and 2021, we had a weekly sell signal here in August of 2020. We also had one back here in January of 2021. Notice the targets for these was Bitcoin should have dropped all the way down to $7,800. It only made it down to $10,100. In January, it should have made it all the way down towards $23,000. It only made it down to $28,000. So during explosive bull runs, this signal has a potential to not get hit. The potential of a massive bull run ignoring sell signals increases. So that's the question. Are we in an explosive bull run, or is this just a normal conservative flow? If it's conservative, we're hitting sub 100,000. If this is the beginning of the massive pump, then we will ignore it. 107,200 might have been the bottom, and we're talking about new all-time highs coming soon. Again, stay posted because we're going to talk about that. There's a lot of stories happening over the next 2 weeks that will have a major say on that happening. But with that said, that's what's happening with Bitcoin. We're still monitoring that. Bitcoin dominance continues to trend down. Now, it's not over, right? We're not sitting at 55%, 50%, like I think eventually we can get down even as low as 45%. But we are trending back lower today, right? And overall, even though we had a boost the other day, we're coming back down, continuing to show that whales and crypto players are looking at Bitcoin. Some of them are taking profit and rolling that profit over into altcoins. Some are saying, well, I'm not going to sell my Bitcoin. Like, this is my projection. I haven't sold any Bitcoin, but all of my dry powder that I'm creating via my trade wins, via my budgeting on my income, and I always have a select group of money that I hold to the side for the sake of investing. I haven't bought Bitcoin other than 107,200. So I'm backing this up. That was more trade than anything else. My long-term spot bags, not all my trading, I'm not buying Bitcoin for the long term right now, right? The Bitcoin that I bought at 107,200 is Bitcoin I'm probably taking profit on at around 140 or 150,000. I'll decide based on the next weekly sell signal. Bitcoin that I want to hold for the next 5 years, 10 years, I'm not adding to that bag right now because this is not the right time to do it. This is the right time to add to altcoins. And that's what the rest of the whales are thinking as well. When you see the Bitcoin dominance start to trend down, and it's been trending down, despite the fact that this whole time it's been trending down, the altcoin space has been trending up. Take a look at the total crypto market right here. You go back to that time we started rallying, total has gone from, let's make sure I get these dates correctly, right? So we topped out June 27th was the top of Bitcoin dominance. And ever since then, we've been trending downward. Total, if I go back here, guess what? June 27th, not quite the very bottom. June 27th would be right over here. But look at the trajectory of the entire crypto market while Bitcoin dominance has been coming down. It is trending to the upside. What does that mean? It means people are putting less money into Bitcoin, more money into alts. Some of them are even taking profit from their Bitcoin and rolling into alts. Some of the biggest gainers from that have been ones like Ethereum. Look at Ethereum since back here in June, trending heavily to the upside. Obviously, Chainlink is a big benefactor. Solana has been one of the bigger rallies here happening. Now we're still, not even draw there. We're still wrestling with a bearish formation, right? We told you guys here the other day, oh, we didn't quite get our sell signal there. I got my TP1 here, but we had a trade on Solana. We shorted it up here at resistance. I wanted to come all the way down here. I thought we could get closer towards 189. I took slight profit here around 200. Didn't quit quite the rest of it. I do think that kind of took me out of my trade because I always put my stop losses down. But I think we're going to potentially get another swing at that if we don't have some great news coming out in the next 24 hours or so. Sorry, guys, had a little frog in my throat right there. In a nutshell, though, Solana still staying in that tight little shell. Will we have a big break to the downside first, or is it going to explode to the upside? Either way, it's been trending up here since June and taking some dominance away from Bitcoin. In that same time frame, let's just take a look at Bitcoin just for reference. What does the end of June look like? Technically, Bitcoin is up as well, but you can see especially this is a little bit of an outlier. Bitcoin really trending down since the highs in July. That's not what you get when you take a look at, say, like Ethereum, and you look at Solana, and you look at Chainlink. These coins are trending upwards from July, Bitcoin trending down. And that's a big reason that this chart on the Bitcoin dominance is going so far down, is because people are buying altcoins, not Bitcoin. They're rolling their Bitcoin into altcoins. And it's a glorious thing if you're a believer in altcoin season. Now, with that said, I probably going to come back with some Q&A later in the show and do some more TA. We did look at a little bit of ONDO yesterday. We can take a look at that again. I see some people asking about ONDO as well, but stick around with us throughout the show. Ask some questions later on. I'm going to take a little bit of a break from the charts because I want to get into some of these stories that will impact prices down the road, right? I can go through the charts and I can show you, hey, this is Luxago saying here's a buy signal. This is Luxago saying it's a sell signal. This is a common formation that means price should do this, yada, 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 yada. At the end of the day, it still is the sentiment in the space and the news that drives when prices explode, just how explosive they can be when it happens. The charts just kind of give us great levels of support and resistance and tell us the power dynamics going. We got some mixed results over the next couple of weeks that could have major impacts on the price of Bitcoin, of crypto, of the stock market. But let's start off with some news coming out this morning that is very bullish. This is part of the reason why we're even seeing a bounce here today. Go back to my screen. Breaking this morning, U.S. JOLTS job openings. In July, they came out to 7.181 million. All right, so good amount of job openings right there. Expected 7.38, previously 7.35. This is bullish. It's bad news for jobs, but it is a good result for rate cuts. Shrum, you are the one to put this out on the account here today. Do you want to go a little bit more in depth? What's going on with these job rate cuts? What does it mean that it came out at 7.18 instead of the expected almost 7.4? What's your thoughts here?
Yeah, well, this is not the unemployment rate. That's the real thing here. This is favorable. This is definitely favorable. This increases the chances of a rate cut. in September. I'll go ahead and spill the beans of what that prediction tool is, and that is the Polymarket tool. It's now at 86%. 80. I've never seen it this high, and if I'm on the all chart here, you can kind of see that indeed it has never been this high before. So 86%. I'm excited. The market's excited. Some assets are testing higher, but not exploding higher, except in the case of Google. We'll get to in a second. But this JOLTS number, it really is kind of, it's going to help to make the decision easier for Jerome Powell to go ahead and cut rates in September. But again, this is like maybe a 1 or 3 out of 10 in importance compared to the unemployment rate that's going to be coming out on the 5th, on Friday. And also the jobless claims that will be coming out on Friday as well. That's like honestly, it's close to a 10 out of 10 of importance. The only thing more important will be that inflation print on the 11th. So this JOLTS number, good, but again, it's kind of junior league. It's not really going to move the needle.
Yeah, ultimately, it's just saying we thought there were going to be way more jobs available. There's less. It's 200,000 jobs less open than we originally thought there would be. That is a sign that, hey, again, is the unemployment out of control? Are people losing jobs like crazy? Not yet, but it's definitely a concern unless something changes. It would impact Jerome Powell and the Fed from saying they probably want to look at rate cuts. We'll talk more about that, though. Some other things to be aware of here when we look at the economic calendar. Let's go through this and let's just scroll through. I'm going to talk more about this in tomorrow's video, but today I just want you to know what is going on. We got JOLTS job openings today. Then Thursday, we will get initial jobless claims again. So that's coming out tomorrow morning at 8:30. And again, tomorrow I will be putting out a video as to what to expect from these numbers. But let's keep going on here. The official unemployment rate will be coming out Friday morning, 8:30, right? So as T. Shrum said, this jobless claims, the JOLTS job openings don't tell us unemployment, but they can give us kind of rumblings as to what might happen with unemployment. At this point, the expectation is 4.3, okay? 4.2 was the previous. What's it actually going to be? Again, watch tomorrow's video. I'll lay out for you what to expect with that result and what a number being printed means. If it's really high, what does that mean? If it's really low, what does that mean? Moving on here, we will get PPI numbers on September 10th, but those will just be month over month, so don't look for those to be massive impact. The bigger day is September 11th, of course. Core inflation, both month over month and year over year, will come out. And at that point, after getting both the official unemployment on the 5th and by getting the inflation numbers on the 11th, the Fed should have all of the data they need to make an informed decision. As Shrum already showed you guys, the Fed Watch tool over here, all-time high for predictions here, 86%. Don't forget the CME. I'm not going to say all-time high, but it's all-time high for more recently, 95.4%. The CME is predicting a rate cut. So very, very, very positive sign if you're looking for rate cuts. I know there's some people in chat already saying it's not going to happen. We'll have to wait and see, right? We've been predicting one would come eventually this year, but it seems like they keep kicking the can down the road, but they're running out of excuses to kick that can. Will they be able to hold up one more time, or is this finally the date it's happening? But speaking of Fed chairman, we have Governor Waller here saying that he favors multiple interest rate cuts in the coming months. Now, this is not a new thing. We know Waller has been one of the people who seems like he is more dovish in the Fed. There's still 12 of them that have to vote. But with Jerome Powell kind of giving us some dovish vibes, Waller's out here speaking publicly saying he's in favor of multiple cuts. It's got to make you feel confident. It's got to make you feel better. It's part of the reason why we're rallying here today. That's not all coming out from the Fed here. This one, Shrum, I'm going to ask you to break down a little bit more because it's a little bit of it's a great headline. What it actually means, though, could be a little more complicated. But breaking, the Federal Reserve is holding a conference to discuss crypto stablecoins, tokenization, and AI. Now, the context of this news jumps out at me as being super bullish. It sounds super positive. Shrum, maybe you have some other details though. Is it positive? Is it negative? What does this mean they're going to have this conference? What are you expecting the outcome to be?
Yeah, I mean, I to be honest with you, I'm not really sure. If you look at the timing, that's kind of all I have to go on is just the timing, which let's look across the regulatory landscape. Where have we seen other American financial regulators, financial groups taking action? And that would be yesterday with the CFTC and the SEC issuing guidance that regulated exchanges, are going to be able to sell and make available to their clients spot crypto, right? Now, that's not something that you and I have access to. That's not a retail brokerage. That's actually the brokerage for the brokerages. So when I put an order in on E-Trade or Interactive Brokers or Charles Schwab, right? Charles Schwab is turning around and saying, hey, CME or ICE or New York Stock Exchange, I would like to go ahead and buy. I have enough people now that want to buy 500,000 shares of Google stock. So I'm going to go ahead and buy that lot of shares. So it's the institution, right? The wholesale seller of U.S. equities that has now gotten the thumbs up from the CFTC and from the SEC to go ahead and start making available to its clients, again, brokerages, not retail, spot crypto. Okay, so wait, I thought Tim was prefacing all this with a Federal Reserve headline. It is. That's all really that I have to go on. There's not a whole lot of information about this. So the Fed likely was waiting for this from this clarity from the SEC, from the CFTC on this new rule. This really, it's just a clarification, and the Fed likely will now be kind of giving the green light / opening and kind of having a town hall, gathering information from the part of Wall Street that remains anti-crypto and skeptical of crypto, and also from the crypto enthusiasts, and also from the folks in between who are kind of just like, we don't really know. We don't fully distrust Elizabeth Warren, but we also think maybe this Brian Armstrong guy's making a lot of money. There's people from the whole gamut that are going to come in and try to understand what the Federal Reserve's guidance is going to be. My guess is that they don't really know a whole lot, but they're going to say some things that are going to excite the crypto markets to the upside, especially for names like Ethereum that are kind of a given in terms of tokenization and stable coins. The AI part, I'm really excited to hear about because I have no idea at all what they're going to be talking about there. Hopefully they bring up the fact that AI is scheduled to unemploy a lot of people, and that's another reason why they should cut rates. So that's my take on it, Tim. Hopefully that was helpful.
Yeah, we don't want them to cut jobs too fast, though. Too many job losses can be absolutely detrimental to the job space and to the economy, and therefore we have a plummeting both stock market and crypto market. So I think EA is going to be a big part of the future, but let's not let it be too big of a part of the future just too quickly. Joe Watson came in here. He said there's not too much time left for multiple rate cuts, but there's just enough. Honestly, there's just enough. Go to my screen here. Take my face off of here, Smay. We already talked about how CME is predicting a 95% chance of a 25 basis point cut in September. The next meeting will be October, right? So we'll wait about a month and a half. It'll be the end of October on the 29th. And we'll see another one. Right now, this is actually, last week when we looked at this, it was predicting the highest probabilities that we would stay between 400 to 425, which means it was kind of saying if we get a rate cut in September, we'll probably pause in October, right? It's still close to 50-50, but it's flipped now. 53% probability we'll get another cut in October. Then you flip over to December, so we'll skip November, go get another one on December 10th. That's where we have, again, close to a 50-50 battle. Will they get a third cut in, or will we stay at just two? Either way, what this is saying is by December, we will have a 90% chance of having at least two cuts. The question is, will we have a third one, 44.3%, or are we going to stick with just two, 46.3%? So, yeah, there's not a whole lot of months left, Joel, but there is enough time still on the table to get definitely two. And again, three is still out there as well. Or you can bring my face back on, Smay. Do we see Jerome Powell come out with another August of 2024 move where he shatters it with a 50-point cut? We already saw Trump asking for a full 300 basis point cut. Not going to happen. But could he do another 50? Maybe. That's not what CME or Polymarket are predicting at this time, but it will be interesting to monitor that as it goes on. Guys, start asking questions here. We have a couple more stories we want to go over here, and then we'll be transitioning into some Q&A time. We can look at charts. We can talk about fundamentals. We can talk about not just the charts, but news that's going on, further things that kind of impact your guys' portfolios. But let's move on to the next story here, because this is another bullish one coming out. The clarity from the SEC CFTC is coming. U.S. registered exchanges like ICE or CME can now facilitate spot crypto. TradFi retail brokers, Schwab and E-Trade can list spot Bitcoin and Ethereum. And there's some more details I'll let Shrum go into, but I want to kind of summarize this in case you're wondering, Tim, that doesn't affect me at all. I already buy my Bitcoin on BloFin. I already buy my Bitcoin on Coinbase. I already buy my Bitcoin on name it. That's fine. This is not going to impact your day-to-day life because I don't think that many people watching this show are going to go buy from Schwab or E-Trade. That's not the point. The point is there are people out there that aren't going to touch BloFin or Coinbase or Binance with a 10-foot pole. They will, though, go to Schwab. They will, though, go to E-Trade. They will, though, use regulated exchanges. And now they know they can go to those regulated exchanges and buy spot Bitcoin and ETH. All of a sudden, we have a brand new wave of adoption that people can not just buy the ETF. Again, some people like to do that. But anyone who's looking in this is saying, no, I don't want to buy an ETF. I want to actually own this Bitcoin for myself, but I want to wait for a regulated exchange to do it. They're now going to have their options with Schwab and E-Trade. Now, as I work on that pronunciation, Shrum, take over. What does this mean exactly? What are some more details that people need to know about this deal?
Yeah, well, this is just one of many clarifications that the SEC, and, along with the CFTC, have come out with in 2025 that had really been bullish for crypto, right? And it's because Donald Trump and his administration have shaken the house when it comes to financial regulators and said, enough, choke point 2.0, and on and on. But this one's pretty big, right? And I talked about it a little bit with the Federal Reserve headline, but essentially this is the brokerages have already been selling, making available the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs and even some Solana and other crypto futures ETFs. So the brokerages, especially Fidelity, are no stranger to crypto, at least ETFs. However, they've not really been able to make available spot Bitcoin in spot Solana and Ethereum and things like that for their clients, not because they don't want to, not because they don't make money off the fees of selling it to their clients, but because the regulated exchanges above them that they buy equities wholesale from, they're not allowed to sell it to them, right? So that's what this law clarifies, that they are now allowed to sell it to them. Now, finance runs pretty quickly, but not quite the speed of technology. So there will be some lag time here, but this is just one of many from 2025 clarifications from financial regulators. And I'll also point out, this only comes a couple of weeks after Donald Trump signed an executive order making 401k holders eligible to hold spot crypto. Again, when I say spot, when Tim or other folks say spot, that means the actual Bitcoin that you can send into a wallet, a cold wallet, hot wallet, send to your friend in Malaysia, you receive from your friend in Moscow, whatever it's going to be. That's spot Bitcoin. You can't send and receive an IBIT ETF as easy as it is to buy and hold and sell for a profit. You can't actually send it to someone. You can do that with spot Bitcoin. So this is a big breakthrough in that way. And this is one of those, Tim, where you hear about it, it's bullish, but maybe that kind of fizzles out. But this is one that could potentially pick up and be very explosive because it's running in conjunction with Donald Trump's EO on 401k holders being able to buy. I think the only linchpin, the only thing in my mind that's keeping this gigantic ocean of 401k dollars from pouring into crypto is the registered investment advisors, the RIAs, that they do not yet have their incentives package and aligned with crypto. They're still perfectly happy to take commissions from iShares and from other S&P 500 and QQQ providers that they're going to make money off of selling that to their clients. They do not yet have those incentive packages set up for Bitcoin and for Ethereum. But BlackRock, Fidelity, Bitwise, and Canary, and all of these ETF issuers are absolutely going to be incentivized to sell those ETFs on the ETF side. And alongside that will more than likely be the spot category, the spot variety, the spot flavor of the of Bitcoin and Ethereum. So a lot there. Some of you that may have gone over your head. Essentially, this is one that Tim and I would just chalk up to expanded adoption. Could be very big, very quickly if the regulations get lined up and understood, and there's a clear incentive package for the RIAs. But it could also fizzle out and be nothing if the RIAs aren't really incentivized to sell this to their 401k clients. So keeping all that in mind, it's bullish.
We're about to move on, but I think the one last question I have, and I don't know if you have the answer to this, Shrum, it's something we should look into. A big difference here would be with an ETF. BlackRock's running an ETF, right? You go on and you buy $1 million worth of Bitcoin from their ETF. They don't have to have that Bitcoin on hand when you purchase the ETF. Now that you've given them their money, now they go out and they buy that Bitcoin. They hold it for you, but they get to keep it and you don't just give it to you. That's something the ETF, in this situation, like for example, if I buy Bitcoin from Coinbase, Coinbase has to have Bitcoin on there for me to buy it from. Do we know, will Schwab and E-Trade be forced to have to buy Bitcoin and Ethereum to have on hand for when their clients want to buy it? Or is it going to be something they facilitate through a Coinbase or through somebody else? It's like, hey, have some Bitcoin on hand because if one of our clients buys it, we'll just come grab it from you. Do you know the answer to that question, or is that something we need to look a little bit deeper into?
I definitely do not know the answer, but that's a good question, Tim. My guess is it's going to be the latter, is they're just going to plug their clients directly into, a Coinbase or something like that.
But whether that's how it works or not, the big difference would be you buy an ETF, you never actually own the Bitcoin. If you go to Schwab or E-Trade and you buy Bitcoin, they might have to go get it from Coinbase or some over-the-counter deal, but they will get it into your account, and your account will actually hold Bitcoin, not just an ETF. So that's some big news right there. Let's keep moving on to some more. This isn't big news. This is a transition thought here, but breaking, I think there's some yesterday though. President Trump maintains that tariffs could replace federal income tax one day. Now, there's a lot that can go on with this and how this goes. I'll tell you guys right now, I have been pro tariffs to a level if this statement is true. I've not hidden behind anything. I don't like to get crazy political one way or the other. We've been honest with people, but I'm also honest in my criticisms. One of the reasons why I am not critical of tariffs is because I believe that this is the goal, the thought process. We're going to go back to pre-19, what's the date this happened? 1913, 1918, I don't know what the exact date was, but we used to completely fund the government, the federal government, through tariffs, not income tax. We changed that as the war started progressing and we wanted to fund things quicker. I think that was a big mistake. Argue with me in the chat. Feel free to. I'm not claiming to be the foremost expert on this, but I would love to live in a world where we have tariffs and we do not have federal income tax. What I do not want to live in a world in is where the tariffs keep increasing and we have federal income tax. So if that's what the Trump administration ends up doing, they will get a thumbs down from me because I think that's absolutely ridiculous. But this is very relieving to people like me who have not necessarily said that tariffs are bad just yet, because I do believe they're part of a bigger plan to relieve people from taxes. But if they only add to our backs of what we have to spend every single year, then I will be a very, very outraged American citizen who will look to vote for someone who will right that injustice. Shrum, a little bit more from you on this take. Are you in the same boat? Do you want to pay extra taxes, or how do you see this all playing out?
No, I'm in the same camp as you, Tim. I mean, Donald Trump is trying to, Donald Trump, along with his team, Howard Lutnick and Scott Bessent, are trying to really pull a rabbit out of a hat here, right? Kind of going back and sifting through some of this esoteric economic tools that we've only kind of this year really fully understood how a tariff really works. And the Supreme Court is kind of sifting through, can somebody like Donald Trump, can a president of the United States really wield that tool in the way that Trump is wielding it? So I completely agree with your position there. It's like, if you're going to have tariffs, that's fine. Let's see if it works. There's a lot of smart people who've kind of signed off on this plan, including Donald Trump, right? However, if you're going to keep the income taxes federally, that is going to be a bit of an issue. Give a break to the American worker, the American taxpayer, which was the initial plan. So we'll see. We're just going to have to kind of wait and see how this ends up playing out. But I can tell you this, Tim, it doesn't seem to me like we're going to see a balanced budget, which is the key to unlocking a removal of federal income taxes for people making less than $150,000 annually, unless that budget is balanced. That was the deal that was struck between Howard Lutnick and Donald Trump, and it is up to Howard Lutnick to deliver that. But he is just the Treasury Secretary, right? He is not the Federal Reserve Chairman. He is not the Treasury Secretary, right? He can only operate out of the Commerce Department, but he's powerful. He's been in all kinds of meetings trying to make it happen. I think it's going to be the last year. I think it's going to be 2027 that we would even see this possibly happen. So keep paying your taxes, keep expecting to pay your federal income taxes, but hopefully by 2027 we'll see a bit of relief and potentially not have to pay federal income tax if you make less than 150 grand.
Yeah, we had a comment. Dremola says taxes bring in trillions, tariffs bring in billions. That would all change though if you didn't have taxes, right? Why are tariffs such a bad thing? If everybody had bukus of money, and I don't think that's the right English expression there, but I'm just using the word. If you just had a bunch of money, tariffs don't affect you. Yeah, tariffs will increase inflation. It's going to happen. If the company in America has to pay higher money to buy from China because of the tariff, yes, they're going to have to sell their goods at more expensive costs, which means you as the consumer are paying the consequence of the tariff. I'm not dancing around that. I'm not denying that. I think I've heard people try to deny that, and that's just silly. Yes, absolutely. We as the individuals, the consumers, we pay the taxes on tariffs. But guess what would happen if I had a little more money in my pocket? Because Uncle Sam didn't come a calling every single year saying you owe me 6%, 7%, 10%, 11% of your income for being an American citizen. All of a sudden, I have more money in my pockets. It's not as big of a deal if everything becomes a little bit more expensive. If that happened, if the economy boomed because people had more money in their pockets, we can increase those tariffs. Those billions become numerous trillions. And I'll be honest with you, I think there's a world in which no income tax and tariffs actually bring in more money to the government than using income tax. With that said, I also think the government should stop spending so much stupid money every single year. Can I get an amen in chat? Whether you agree with my other points or not, I think we all can agree the government can be better with our money. I think we all are on team Elon when it comes to that statement. Let's move on to the last story here, and then we'll get into some other Q&A in chat. We're going to move here from the crypto realm into more of the stock market realm, but this is some big news that will have ripple effects that even affect our crypto portfolios. Breaking: Google surges 8% to $230 on favorable U.S. judge ruling to new all-time high in post-market move. What they say, the Google can now keep Chrome and Google must share search data. Shrum, our resident stock expert here, break this down for me. How does this news help me even if I don't own Google stock?
Well, it just generally brings optimism, right? This unlocks more optimism. There's been a holdover kind of DOJ antitrust court case on Google parent's company Alphabet, and this essentially kind of takes the weight off of the back of Alphabet to be able to move forward. Did they get some smacks on the wrist? Yes. They're going to have to change a couple of things about the way they operate in the digital marketing space, but ultimately they get to keep Chrome, and the engine's just going to keep on chugging for Alphabet. That's why the price has gone markedly higher. This is also going to feed into upside for the S&P 500 and for the QQQs to take another swing at more all-time highs. This is going to be a boom for crypto, though, as well, because this is just, again, more renewed optimism, more liquidity flowing. People are going to take profits in Google after this huge surge. It's going to likely go into small cap tech stocks as well, but some of that will rotate into Chainlink, ONDO, Bitcoin, and Ethereum as well. So optimism has been returned. This is not a direct bullish outcome for crypto, I would say, but there will be second and third order effects that absolutely will see crypto prices higher.
There we go. Let's get into some questions here. Starting off with one. It was asked a little bit a while ago. You guys keep dropping some questions. Shrum and Smay, keep your eyes on chat for them. But BR Taxi says, quick question. Throwback to a while ago. With DOT being a dead project, I think he's quoting me saying that I think that DOT's a dead project. With at least 2 ETF filings, what does that mean for Cardano or other projects with only 1 or no ETF filing? Well, let's start off here. ETF filings have nothing to do with massive success or failure of a project, right? So Bitcoin's ETF comes out and Bitcoin immediately booms, right? We boom into the news, we boom after the news. Ethereum's ETF come out, and I'm not saying Ethereum's a bad project, but didn't you guys notice how for several months an Ethereum ETF being live and active did not constitute bullish Ethereum price action whatsoever? In fact, Ethereum dropped pretty rapidly after it coming out. What does that mean? An ETF ultimately is not a decider of how quality something is. It's simply another avenue for people to get access to that good. So even though I believe in Ethereum a long time, at the moment the ETF went live, didn't mean that was the right time to go and invest into Ethereum. And for that reason, Ethereum kept coming to the downside. Again, ETFs is just one more way to purchase or sell an asset. The same as if a brand new exchange pops up. Just because an exchange lists a token doesn't mean that token is amazing. It's just saying, hey, we'll let you buy or sell it here. In the same breath, just because you have an ETF, I think it's a good sign, right? If I was going to give DOT one bonus structure of saying, hey, maybe there's a chance it makes it, it would be that somebody looked at it and said, oh, let's file an ETF. The reality is, I don't think the people that are filing these ETFs are looking into all the intrinsic details of cryptocurrencies. They're just seeing and saying, oh, let's look at a top 30 coin at the time the file was. I think DOT dropped since then. That's a top 30 coin right there. I've heard people mention it before. Let's do an ETF filing for it. Does not mean it's long-term success. Right? DOT has some extremely bad fundamental problems. I've talked to you about it on this channel. Their devs are dropping like flies. They're not creating anything at all. They're barely up from their all-time lows, unlike the rest of the crypto space. And I'm not saying that Cardano is the forefront of crypto. I'm not saying Cardano's had the greatest thing ever, but they still have devs working. They're still building. They're still growing. They are up significantly. As much as people think it's not, it's up significantly from those all-time lows or bear market lows down around 23 cents. We're still hovering around $1 for Cardano, much higher than Polkadot. So I don't look at this and say, oh, well, Polkadot has 2 ETF filings, must be a quality project, because that doesn't have any impact on it. I'm still looking at fundamentals. I'm still looking at the whole team, the whole price action, the fact that they blew billions of dollars on a failed marketing campaign. This is a team that doesn't understand how to grow access to their coin. They're not building and making anything bigger or better, and they don't know how to handle money correctly. That, to me, is a failed project. Does that mean DOT's going to zero? I think I've said this several times now. I'm not predicting DOT to zero. I'm saying DOT will barely make any money if it won't make any money, or it barely will make money. There are so many other better assets out there. Are there going to be some idiots out there that go out and buy a bunch of DOT because they see an ETF? Sure. That's why I'm saying I'm not predicting it going to zero. But when we start talking about possibilities of 5x, 10x, 20x, I don't think DOT's even a 5x from where prices currently are. I think people are going to wake up to that a lot sooner. But good, thank you for the question. There we go. Devo said rate. Okay, here we go. No, I didn't answer this question yet. Devo said rate cuts don't cause altcoins to pump. QE does, and they're not exclusive to each other, and they need money printers to go on. Absolutely. There are absolutely times where rate cuts do not bring bullishness. In fact, you're going to hear a lot of people as we get closer to rate cuts. Don't be surprised when you hear this. You're going to hear a lot of people in the next couple of weeks say, oh, here we go, rate cuts. Let me show you the other times we've had rate cuts, like back in 2007 and back in 2000 and back in 19, blah, 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 blah. And they're going to show you these times where we had rate cuts and the markets collapsed. They're going to show you those. Now, they're not going to show you the times there were rate cuts and the markets boomed. Doesn't fit their story. Well, what's the story? The story is that rate cuts in and of themselves are not the only impact on if markets will go to the upside or to the downside. It also has to do a lot with what the economy is doing. And where you're absolutely right here, Devo, it will have to do with quantitative easing and money printing as a whole. I mean, ultimately, what is one of the biggest reasons people are flooding into Bitcoin and crypto and gold and other assets is because they're looking at their dollar being inflated every single day. And they're saying this is not a good place to hold it long term. If I'm a smart person, holding my wealth in US dollars is not a good long-term play. So the more we print money, the more we devalue the US dollar, the more people are going to go into cryptocurrencies. So what we're looking at here, it's not the rate cuts into themselves, it's the fact that we're already printing money, right? We are in quantitative easing at that point. Look at the bill that just got passed, the big, beautiful bill. Why was there so much fighting going on? Because it talked about increasing the budget of what the US government was going to spend. How do you do that? You print more money. You tax the American people in a very evil way by just printing more money out from under our noses and also giving us income taxes and tariffs and everything else. But I digress. Ultimately, we are printing money. Where the rate cuts will come in, as long as the unemployment rate is not out of control, is they will make it easier for businesses and individuals to borrow money. This will increase the amount of people borrowing money. Why are people borrowing money? Because they're going to invest in something. They're going to invest in their business. Some people will borrow money to go invest into assets. It will cause a boom effect. The combination of rate cuts plus a steady economy plus printing money out into oblivion, these are the things that are going to work all together to be explosive. Rate cuts are just the next step to popping that balloon of an explosive rally. So good question there. Good takes there. And that's why it's going to be bullish there. Other questions here. What do we have? Do you see anything good in chat? Jamola said M2 money supply has been going up without the rate cuts. Absolutely, Jamola. That's also one of the reasons why crypto has been going up. Gold has been going up without the rate cuts. It's not an issue of saying we can't go up. I've said this before. It's the concept of how fast will we go up, right? So go to my screen here. You have a thought?
Yeah, well, M2 is global. M2 is not just the US. It's not just dollars.
You can look at both. There's M2. There's M2 global. There's M2 global, and there's M2 US. You can just track the US dollar. Like for example, the indicator I use in here. If you go into it, global M2 money supply. So that's global. But what I can do if I go into the settings, if I can get the settings, there we go. I can choose what countries I want to include. Right. So I could get rid of all of these and just do US. There is still an M2 money supply of the US dollar. In this case, we're talking about an M2 money supply that uses pretty much all fiat currency worldwide. Interesting take here, guys. Remember, we talked about the correction in September. Going to have potentially a low sometime in October, but it's already put in a new all-time high for that M2 global money supply. So another kind of argument in my camp of saying, I don't think the top is going to be in September or October like some 4-year cycle people think. At this point, if M2 money supply is correct, it's saying we're going to be setting a new all-time high sometime in late November. Okay, so that's not what I was coming here to do. I want to talk about explosive price action. I've been saying this the whole time, but listen, Bitcoin has had moments of some really good bullish action, right? Going all the way back to November of 2022, this is the whole bull market so far, right? Very, very bullish. But it hasn't quite had the major parabolic run. You have a little bit of one right in here after Donald Trump was elected, but we really haven't had the big, massive explosion in price action like this. Right. So we had an explosive move back here in May of 2019, but the big one comes here between September of 2020, pretty much all the way until January, a slight blip, and then another explosion up until February. We had a massive parabolic run on Bitcoin. By the way, there were rate cuts in here. And if anyone was wondering, that was part of it. But that's not my point. My point is, when are we going to get this parabolic move here and not just a stair-stepping approach on Bitcoin like we've had this bull market? If we don't get rate cuts, my prediction is maybe Bitcoin drops here a little bit, goes back towards that 100,000 mark that I was talking about. But then we just start this stair-stepping process. Again, it's a very slow, painful process where people are just like constantly thinking the top is in, and then we go a little bit lower and then we go back up. A rate cut in an explosive season, and that's not just Bitcoin, altcoins are going to do this as well. I think the difference between hitting 200,000 soon or later is, do we get rate cuts and do we see a massive printing of money? Then we see a parabolic run. We might be at 200,000 before the end of the year. I don't think we will. I think that's something that happens in 2026. But we can see an explosive run when all the stars align. If those stars do not align, we'll continue this process that we've been going through for months, but with a very slow, methodical, higher high, higher low situation. It will just continue, and we won't hit 200,000 until late 2026 at best, 2027, 2028. Ultimately, I don't know the dates on that. The question isn't, are we bullish or are we bearish? We're going to be bullish. The question is, how fast can we explode to those highs that we know are capable? Let's see here. Somebody's asking for ONDO TA again. I think I saw some chat about that a little bit while ago as well. Can you talk about what do we get in each trading group? Okay. Can you talk about what do we get in each trading group? First of all, we don't have individual trade. Oh, you mean the different levels? Well, there's a lot of things there. Shrum, can you pull up that graphic? I'm going to answer the ONDO. Let's do some ONDO TA. And if you pull up that graphic, we'll talk it through when you have it pulled up. But let's go talk ONDO. We talked about this yesterday We're in a smaller symmetrical triangle. Look at that. We made a nice bounce yesterday, hit that support level. We're now back up. We're testing the resistance. Can we get a breakthrough and start to rally up higher? This is, of course, a breakout from a much longer bullish formation called a falling wedge channel. The reality is, I don't know why I had that line drawn like that. This line really should be more like this, if I can fix it. Boom. That's a lot better right there. This has a trajectory for ONDO to hit much, much higher levels. I think it actually predicts a move back up above $2 here. Pair that with a longer term weekly buy signal that's saying at least $1.50 should be on the table. But we got to win the small things first, right? ONDO's got to get some good momentum going on the shorter time frames. Let's break this resistance level. Let's turn this red just to make it resistance instead of looking like it's another support level. Let's break that. Let's get an official buy signal coming in here, which, again, I think today would be the day we are calling it. Green reversal, bullish momentum, and that money flow is now flowing positive. Let's close today, and I'll feel a lot better about that daily buy signal for ONDO. In short, that would give us a target somewhere back up around $1.12. But what that's going to be good enough for is to break this structure, put a new higher high in once again, and even if we have a small retracement right there, I think that puts you on your way for ONDO to go to the upside. But for now, we're still kind of in the woods. We're in the good stage where it's like, hey, this is looking bullish, but we're not quite out of the woods to say it's time to go all in on ONDO just yet. Now, did I buy some more ONDO the other day? Sure, I did. Why? Because it was a nice dip. And whether we go to lower levels or not, that was a good place for me to buy in some more ONDO. But I'm not necessarily convinced just yet it's a sure thing to go higher. So I'm watching with anticipation. And if we start to drop too low, I'll have a stop loss in place and I'll buy even lower. But right now I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good on ONDO. A lot of reasons to be optimistic. Any reasons on the short term? Let's just look one more thing here. You see we're kind of rolling over here on the 4-hour chart. We hit that smart trail. You should have a little rollover. You have a gray dot coming in. You have a red reversal. The money flow is still positive, but a red reversal and gray dot shouldn't be laughed at or ignored. The question is, can we get a good grouping to jump through that resistance? This is what I'm afraid. I think the hourly chart did give us a sell signal. Yep, red reversal, bearish momentum, negative money flow. Good news is, though, only move back down towards 94, 95 cents is where we're looking at. So that's going to be the question. Can we bounce around 95 cents and make that move back up, cancel out a potential 4-hour sell signal, and start to activate that daily buy signal? That's what we're kind of watching. So stay tuned with that one. I know it feels at times like you're watching paint dry, but if you're patient and vigilant with the charts, you wait for confirmation moves, there's a lot of money to be made when you're patient in this game. If you're impatient, there's a lot of money to be lost. But the patient somehow will always win this game. Shrum, can we pull up your chart for a second? Can we look at those different options? I think he was asking about the different levels in there. You had that brought up?
Yep. Right there.
So you're gonna. I want you to talk, Shrum, but don't make any sound. I'm gonna talk my voice through your mouth. I'm just kidding.
Go ahead.
That'd be weird. So you're gonna see 3 different levels: Essentials, Academy, and Gem Hunters. All right, let's stop that. That's actually quite freaky, I think. There we go. Smay with the clutch change up here. The VIP trading group. If you're wondering what that is overall, that is a chat section. Okay. So that is a Discord group where you can come in with other people just like you. They are talking nonstop. Let me actually we're going to go back and forth here between the two charts here. Go to my screen here, Smay, and I want to show people what this looks like. This is chat. You're going to constantly be talking to people, posting charts, giving their thoughts on trades. This is a great situation. You also will get to see things like my private thoughts when I'm entering, exiting trades. I put all that information in here. There's other pro traders like Rufio. Rufio's so active. Look at this. I checked earlier today and I have to scroll to catch up. This is how often he's posting. Silent is in here constantly putting in great thoughts. Great trader. He posts a lot of those big wins he has there as well. Steve as well. Ultimately, when we talk about it, go back to Shrum's chart. That's what the VIP trading group gets you, access to all of those things, right? Trade alerts and setups. I showed you those ones. Portfolio reviews. This is a weekly thing that Crux does where he will not do everyone's individually, but he'll choose one person's portfolio and he'll go through and he'll talk about the pros, the cons, and some changes he would personally make. Even if he doesn't do yours personally, this is really beneficial because you might find some similarities between your personal portfolio and what he's talking about. Very, very helpful. Live Q&A tradings. Rufio is live twice every single day. I am live on Mondays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. And I think next week we're going to try to add in a morning session because I'm doing more of the long-term trading stuff. Rufio is kind of our scout trader. Go check out his stuff at 9 a.m. And then some days it's 3 p.m., some days it's 4 p.m., depends on what's going on in the schedule. But live trading sessions several throughout the week. I think there's, at this point, 12 to 16 live trading sessions where all we're doing is looking at charts and looking for trade setups on the daily basis. You want to check those out. Now it gets into, that's all the things you get with Essentials. Now you get into the Academy. Well, what's one of the benefits of the Academy? The Academy is a whole list of educational videos. If you don't understand technical analysis, I teach you guys how to do it. I teach you the fundamentals, what's support, what's resistance, what are formations, how do you read candles, how do you read indicators. You get all of this by purchasing the Academy session, and you get access to that. You don't get that under the Essentials. You also will get a founder's portfolio, so you get to see what we own, what we don't own, and you get a bonus free hat. You guys like this hat I'm wearing right here? You only get it if you join the Academy or above. The last one, Gem Hunters. This is a really cool group that Crux literally just started, but I think we already have almost 10 members there. He adds a gem watch list. Small micro caps that he thinks can explode. He's letting people know really early what he's looking at and what he's buying early with small caps. Not every single one is a perfect winner, but I think at one point I saw it was like 80% of his picks are crushing it. And I can't remember the percentage. It was something like in a very short amount of time, he had like 10x'd his money with some of these picks. It was ridiculous, all the stuff that Crux is doing. So go check out those 3 options. I recommend if you're newer to trading, if you want to learn how to trade, newer to trading, join the Academy, at least for a couple months, go through the educational content, and then maybe scale back down to the Essentials. If you're experienced, but you just want a team, you want to see my thoughts on a more regular basis, and you know fundamentals of TA, but you're trying to get better, that's where I think the Essentials comes in. But some people get in, and one of the biggest reasons we have any cancellations is people buying the Essentials and then saying, this is a great group, but I don't understand TA, so I'm leaving. Okay, join the Academy. The Academy will help you learn it. It's where you want to be. That's the 3 different levels of the trading group. Thank you for asking that question. As we wrap it out here, we only have a couple minutes left. Some people are asking for more TA on Aerodrome. I'll tell you what, all of the people in our trading group tonight at 7 p.m., I will be doing some Aerodrome there. So keep an eye out there. We got to check in on our trade, our Moon Madness. Go to my screen here, Smay. We got to check in on Moon Madness here and how this is going. Now, we put out a whole new grouping of coins to be traded here. You're going to find this only on the Tim Warren Trades X account. So go here, scroll, and find it. But today's matchups, H-Bar versus Pepe. H-Bar is thwarting it. Right, not even close at the moment. So if you love Pepe, I thought this was going to be closer, honestly. I think I predicted H-Bar, but I'm actually surprised at how much Pepe is getting destroyed here. Maybe I predicted Pepe. I have to go back and look at my predictions. Tron versus Arbitrum, very close there. Arbitrum with the slight lead, but go vote. ICP versus Doge, another very close race at the moment. Here you go. Here's one of the big ones we were talking about. XRP versus Kaspa. I'll be honest with you, that one's closer than I thought it would be as well. But there's still a lot of time to vote here. A lot of votes on there already. Link versus ONDO. It's going about what I thought. Man, that stinks so bad that ONDO is having to go up against Link in week 1. But if you want to see ONDO beat Link, go vote. And the last one we put out today, XLM versus Tau. What a race. That is a very close one. Even though the other ones aren't finished just yet, let's check in on how yesterday's are performing at the moment. Got to scroll through all of our posts here. Again, we got another 24 hours almost, but it's looking like Ethereum emphatically is going to take out Algo. Not a shocker, but the Algo bros just didn't show up. Litecoin and ENA, one of our close ones here, but ENA looks like it's pulling away from Litecoin. 60% of the vote going there. Uni, as expected, destroying Polkadot. Sui is destroying Near. Hype and Aptos, not close, but not far either. And then was that the last one? I think that was the last one. So make sure there's still time to vote for all of those. I think that's 10 different options, maybe 11 different options. You can go off my screen here, Smay. Still time to go vote in the Moon Madness. We're running through September. We're still in round 1. The last grouping will be put out Friday at 2:30. If you guys are enjoying that competition so far, make sure to go vote. Share them with your friends. Let other people get in there and vote for it. But so far, no big surprises. We'll do more of a breakdown on Friday and kind of show you what's going on there. But overall, that's going to wrap out today's show. If you guys enjoyed it, do 2 things. Smash that like button and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. If you are subscribed, make sure to share this video. Share the channel with one of your friends who's looking to make some money and to become build their own generational wealth through investing, this is a perfect place for them to do it. Share the channel. We will see you guys on Friday, live show at 3 p.m. But tomorrow, look out for the video. What you need to look for the next 2 weeks. What is the bullish and bearish case for the month of September? You don't want to miss it. I will see you guys on Friday. Adios.